of us here at ILR, all of us, City of Danville, Pennsylvania, for those of you from outside the region and those joining us from the Commonwealth and across the nation. Let's just remind ourselves of a few numbers. We train 5 training tracks here, 8 hours, shifts, 3 shifts a day, a 24/5 operation with a 1-to-1 student to machine ratio, a 6-to-1 student to teacher instructor ratio, over 1,450 graduates to date, an 80+% graduation rate, than 300 industry partners, an 80+% job placement and retention rate. And on this day, we especially recognize 5 years of the ATDM program. Today, we honor 2 installations of decommissioned submarine parts right here on the ILR campus, and I'll talk a little bit about those later. We also cut the ribbon on this 107,000 square feet state-of-the-art space to train our nation's maritime workforce. Clearly, all those numbers add up to a whole lot that we should be celebrating today. Here with us today, we have a few folks that are really important to this community's strategic direction and leadership. And oftentimes people ask, why Danville? Why did Navy, why did the Department of War come to Danville for this particular program? And it's because leaders like these 2 gentlemen and many of you who sit out in the audience today, who've paved the way, and made very difficult strategic decisions to invest in workforce. Invest some $80 million of local dollars, state dollars, tobacco commission, and regional dollars into building an incredible, extraordinary workforce pipeline in that region. All of that local investment, those strategic decisions made by local leaders resulted in getting the opportunity to locate ATDM here. So we thank you for your leadership. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce both the RIFA chairman and Pennsylvania County Board Supervisor, Mr. Vic Ingram, followed by the RIFA Vice Chairman, Danville City Councilman and former Mayor, the Honorable Sherman Saunders. Mr. Ingram.
Thank you, Kelly. Wow, what a view from up here. Good afternoon, and on behalf of the Regional Industrial Facility Authority, let me welcome you. Admiral Papeo, Scott, you know, it's hard to believe it's been 4 years since you and I stood together next door to celebrate the opening of the Center for Advanced Manufacturing. And it was on that day that we announced plans for the construction of this beautiful $53 million facility. Today, as we cut the ribbon and christen the Maritime Training Center, we have truly become the home of the United States Navy's innovation. While I am an Air Force veteran, I do have some experience with submarines and naval operations. Scott, my admiral, better known as my wife, the crew, has deployed me on 9 different missions. On one such occasion, the port of call was Mexico, where I boarded a submarine as we descended into the strength and integrity of that vessel. Ironically, once we reached the bottom of the ocean, all I saw was some fish and the remains of sunken ships. How ironic. Fortunately, once we surfaced, the captain and the first mate seemed to be as relieved as we were, so they treated us to free shots of tequila. Now, I don't tequila, and I probably would have served them to the pastures. During the American Revolution, inventor David Bushnell developed the Turtle. This was the experimental submarine, which historically was the first attack submarine. Its mission was to destroy the British ship Eagle located in the New York harbor. Although the mission was described as a failure, here's what General George Washington said. I then thought, and I still think, that it was an effort of genius. On October the 12th, 1900, the United States Navy commissioned the first official submarine, the USS Holland. While the Holland crew never saw combat, it served as a training and experimental vessel for the first fleet of submarines. As you can see, the training never ends. I believe that the words of General Washington still hold true to this day. The work and dedication of so many have made this day possible. What we see here demands a celebration, for this is nothing short of genius. Who would have ever thought that Danville and Pittsylvania County would be the home of accelerated training in defense manufacturing? We are truly in a race for superiority, not domination. This is a race to train and equip individuals to maintain a steady and sustainable flow of qualified workers for shipbuilding and the repair sector of the submarine industrial base. As of today, over 1,000 individuals have graduated from the ATDM program, and we're just getting started. Today marks a historic and monumental day for the United States Navy and for Danville and the Pittsylvania County region. This day was made possible due to the hard work and dedication of our collective boards, our staff, our instructors, and most importantly, the students who pass through these doors. Students driven by peace, yet committed to making our Navy the most lethal and effective military force the world has ever known. When I think of the hard work and dedication that I've seen regarding this project, I'm reminded of the words of the father of America's nuclear Navy, the late Admiral Hyman Rickover, when he said, "The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war." I now have the honor of introducing my vice chairman of the Regional Industrial Facility Authority, Danville City Councilman, one of the founding fathers of this, better known as RIFA, and my dear friend, the Honorable Sherman Saunders. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ingram. He told you in the very beginning that he was in the Air Force. I am a proud Army veteran. They messed it up, and we had to clean it up. And we did a real good job. Before I begin, I'd like to ask members of the City Council in Danville, please stand, and Pittsylvania County Board of Supervisors. Thank you for coming here, as well as the manager. And thank you so much. Good afternoon. Occasionally, you get to stand in a place that represents the future. This is one of those places. The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we build. And that's exactly what has been happening on this campus for more than 2 decades. More than 20 years ago, leaders in Danville and Pittsylvania County had the foresight to invest in the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research because they believed education, workforce development, and innovation could transform our region. Today, we see that vision continues to come to life. This new center is more than a building. It is a place where people will gain skills, build confidence, and prepare for careers that matter, not only to their families and communities, but to our nation. That is what makes the accelerated training in defense manufacturing program so special. Students come here to learn, but they leave prepared to contribute to something much larger than themselves. They become part of the workforce that supports America's defense, industrial base, and strengthens our nation's maritime capabilities. And perhaps most importantly, this program demonstrates what can happen when people work together. When people work together toward common goals. As Vice Chairman of the Regional Facility Authority, I am proud of the partnership that continue to drive progress across our region. When local governments educational institutions, industry partners, and community leaders come together, we create opportunities that none of us could create alone. I also think it's fitting that we celebrate today's ribbon cutting alongside the dedication of the newly installed submarine sail. It serves as a powerful reminder that the work taking place here connects Kenya to a mission that reaches far beyond our region. It symbolizes innovation, service, and the skilled workforce that help keep our nation strong, that help keep our nation strong. Today, we celebrate a beautiful new facility, but more than that, we celebrate vision. We celebrate vision. We celebrate partnership, and we celebrate the people whose lives will be changed because of what happens here. Congratulations to the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research, the Accelerated Training and Defense Manufacturing team, and all the partners who help make this day possible. The future is being built here. The future is being built here, and that's something we can all be proud of. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this program.
Thank you both, and thank you to RIFA, certainly Danville, Pennsylvania County, who are the owners of this fiber park and have provided the land for which this building sits on today. We thank you for your continued partnership and investment in the campus of the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research. Before I introduce our next guest, Admiral Scott Papano, who was the commanding officer of the USS Buffalo, we have a special treat here today that we weren't expecting. We have a gentleman who has driven all the way from Buffalo, New York. Mr. Don Smith, and if you please make your way up, retired machinist, mate first class, has traveled all the way from Buffalo because the city of Buffalo has provided a resolution honoring the commemoration of the USS Buffalo submarine. So we've invited him to share that resolution with the audience today.
Thank you. My name's Don Smith. I'm a member of the United States Submarine Veterans, the Buffalo, New York base. I served aboard on the USS Daniel Boone, SSBN 629 Blue, and the USS Ray, SSN 653, as a nuclear-trained machinist mate first class petty officer in the 1980s. The creed of our organization is to perpetuate the memory of our shipmates who gave their lives in the pursuit of their duties while serving their country, that their dedication, deeds, and supreme sacrifice be a constant source of motivation towards greater accomplishments. Pledge loyalty and patriotism to the United States of America and its Constitution. I have a proclamation from the City of Buffalo Common Council for the Accelerated Training and Defense Manufacturing Program and the USS Buffalo sale. It reads as follows. Whereas the Accelerated Training and Defense Manufacturing Program in Danville, Virginia, dedicates itself to the continuation of supporting the skilled workforce with the technology and the capabilities needed to build the Navy's next generation of submarines. Whereas the USS Buffalo sale stands tall as a beacon of strength in submarine operations through her dedicated service from her commissioning in November 8th, 1983 to her decommissioning on January 30th, 2019. Whereas USS Buffalo received numerous awards, such as the Navy Unit Commendation Ribbon, the Meritorious Unit Commendation Ribbon, and a host of other during her naval career. Whereas the City of Buffalo embraced the tremendous contributions the USS Buffalo made through her service to the United States Navy by hosting countless crew members to the city, in which the crews participate in community meetings and sporting events. And whereas Accelerated Training and Defense Manufacturing Program, along with the USS Buffalo Sail and the USS Providence Rudder, can inspire our current and future youth to support the important role of preserving democracy. Now, therefore, it be resolved, I hereby proclaim that the Common Council of the City of Buffalo proudly honors Accelerated Training and Defense Manufacturing and proudly recognizes their contributions to the United States of America. Thank you. You want to take this? You're welcome.
Thank you, sir, for traveling this distance, and thank you for your service. So as I referenced before, I have the honor of introducing someone who's no stranger to ATDM and no stranger to the Danville, Virginia region. In fact, he was one of the original advocates for this now 5-year-old program and commander of the ex-USS Buffalo submarine, whose sail sits right beside me. Retired Vice Admiral Scott Papano has dedicated nearly 35 years of service to the United States Navy as a submarine officer and acquisition leader, including the rank of Vice Admiral before retiring in May 25. Throughout his career, Admiral Papano not only commanded at sea, but shaped the future of undersea warfare and strategic deterrence for generations to come, including the command of USS Buffalo while forward deploying in Guam. Assignments ashore included submarine tactics and development, Navy nuclear power training, defense international security policy, and Navy programming. After selection as an acquisition professional, Admiral Papano served as Major Program Manager. As a flag officer, he also served in some of the Navy's most critical leadership roles, including Director of Comprehensive Test Facility, Commander of the Naval Undersea Warfare Center, Program Executive Office for Strategic Submarines, and Assistant Secretary of the Navy Research Development. Distinguished naval career, Admiral served on teams that have been awarded the Joint Meritorious Unit Award, Navy Unit Commendation, Meritorious Unit Commendation, and 5 Navy E ribbons. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Admiral Scott Papano.
I hate when Telly does that, reads the whole bio, right? He could just say, hey, he drove submarines, then he built them, now he's doing some other stuff, right? So, you know, I just want to say how proud I am to be here today and what a great honor for me to be here today. So Telly, thanks for inviting me back to Danville. It is true that I am no stranger here, but I love every trip I make down here. And it's even more important for me today as I stand here before all of you in this wonderful facility and that proud warship to my right. This closes a lot of circles for me, you know, culmination of many things for me personally and professionally. You don't often get to do when you serve in the military or the government and you're operating for 2 or 3 years at a time on a rotation. And so to be able to kind of still be part of this effort here as we come to the end of the game here, really the end of one game and the start of a much bigger game as we go forward here, right, is very meaningful to me. You heard from, or many of you heard from Admiral Goucher this morning about, you know, what won World War II was the mobilization of the U.S. industrial base and the workforce that drove that, right? That's ultimately what drove our success in World War II. As we look at to the future, where we are today and to the future, you know, we look again right now and see that it's going to be a very similar thing as we rebuild here. And we've talked about that throughout the day. So I'm not going to go through all the testimonials and the details there because actually it's pretty hot out here. And I know you're ready to get on with the ribbon cutting. I am going to go back to World War II for a second though, right? The one other thing, you know, in World War II that we learned as a Navy, I wasn't there personally, despite how old you might think I am, was that the best sailors came from farmers and fishermen. Okay, kind of an eclectic group there, right? You might think fishermen, it would make sense water and operating vessels at sea. But the thing that farmers and fishermen have in common is there's nobody else there to help them, right? Their livelihood, their survival depends upon their innovation, their resilience, right? Their ability to adapt and overcome and survive, right? And that's what, operating a ship at sea is like, right? At war, in combat, you don't know what it's going to take. Your job is to keep that ship and your crew alive and keep fighting that ship. As I think about that, the reason why I bring that up and where that comes to mind to me is that's Danville, Virginia to me. Okay, I look, what you're going to get from me is not the details on the reason why we're doing all this, but the journey that I've been on and the thanks I have for the people involved in this journey, right? Danville was a dying area, right? Textiles moved out, Goodyear industry, everybody moved out, and it was a dying area, right? Just because jobs were gone, starting to go away. And I think, I wasn't here for that, but my understanding is, there was a bunch of really, really smart people, those farmers and fishermen, in the Danville area, I'll just say, who had that thought, that innovation, that resilience, the ability to drive for hard work and have that vision that you're from the gentleman over here about the vision about where to go forward, to remake Danville, Virginia. That happened, before my time, but they said, we're going to reinvest in making sure we know how to train, skilled workforce in manufacturing, because Danville know we have to go do that and move forward here, right? So thanks to those men and women who drove that, right? That got noticed initially by, OSD at the time, now Office of Secretary of War, IBAS organization in about the 2014 timeframe, and said, hey, you guys really got here working something well here. You have, the teachers, the academics, the investors, the local community, the county, working with the state about how you're going to go manage these things, and started to drive that forward a little bit, right? And so started pressing that, got some investment from the government, continued to press that forward, and things got better. We built out things at the Danville Community College and in other places where we started to flex that a little bit. About the same time, when I was serving as a program executive officer for strategic submarines, we were working with the shipyards, and we had a significant challenge of going from 1 Virginia to 2 Virginia per year construction to adding a Columbia. We always thought that was going to be about building up supply chain on the edges, and it was about investing at the primary shipbuilding, the shipbuilding yards. And we weren't thinking about the workforce, right? But in about the early 20s, we had an epiphany. Thankfully, some great minds like Matt Sermon and Whitney Jones that I worked with at the time, there came that epiphany that said, fundamental to all of this, right? We can build all the infrastructure we want. If we can't attract, recruit, train, and retain the most effective workforce in the world, then we're not going to be able to pull this off. Right. So with that epiphany, we worked with OSD IBAS. We saw what was going down here in Danville, Virginia, had some opportunity to go invest further here. And so that's where I kind of entered the journey. And, the one advantage I had is, I was there at the beginning. We saw what Danville was doing. We had a vision for what we do today with the National Maritime Training Center. I was there. We were drawing it on the whiteboard. Just so you know, we were originally going to have the sail at the end of the long hallway. We're going to have the hallway, the P-way in the middle be the length of a 688 class submarine and have the rudder on the backside, but it didn't work out architecturally. So I will say this worked out beautifully here, despite our initial whiteboard drawings about how this might look and everything. I really like how it turned out in the end. But we had that discussion about what this needs to be, right? And going from my cadre of starting ATDM with a cadre of 12 people going through early on in 2021 in the detailed program to now having graduated more than 1,000 students and building this fine facility to be able to have a throughput of more than 1,000 or 800, 1,000 people per year in, critical skill sets required for manufacturing. It brings heart to see this. And again, not something you get to do in my job very often is to be there at the whiteboard design. Frankly, to be there when we broke ground on this facility in 2023, and now to see this in full operation here, now in 2026, it just doesn't happen that much. So thank you for all that you've done to get us here and all the people involved in that, because it really is the future of our manufacturing here. And the other reason why I wanted to come out here is the other way I come to culmination is on the fine warship you see to your right here, right? So You know, speaking last in the day, everybody has said everything. I get to say some stuff again, but even sub vets guy Don come up and, you know, like you saw me hear a little bit about when Keel was laid down in 1980, commissioned 83. So 35 plus years of service for the great ship Buffalo. She and the other 68 class submarine, fast attack submarines, you know, those were our Cold War workhorses, and beyond the Cold War, they continue to be great workhorses for this nation right now. I can't tell you where that sail has been. I can tell you I've spent plenty of hours standing atop of it, you know, coming in and out of port. Proudest days of my life, and the most important time, my most important job that I've ever done in my career. I still look most fondly upon that. So I want to thank everybody that was involved in getting to the point where we get this sail here, you know, to make sure that the good ship Buffalo does not go quietly in the night. She was never that kind of warship. And so to see her here on eternal patrol, you know, outside of the National Training Center is very meaningful to me. And I hope it's meaningful to you. I thought it was important to make sure that the people that went through those doors and ate in that cafeteria and graduated from this facility had a chance to visually look at and see what they were working for, to be part of something bigger than themselves, right? And be reminded that it's not just a job, it's a career, and it's a career in national defense, because this nation's future depends upon our manufacturing workforce of the future. That's where our national defense, our resiliency will come from. So again, thank you, everybody. Telly, thank you for having me here today. And so back over to you for whatever's next. Thank you, sir.
Before my concluding remarks, there's one other person here that I would like to recognize today. In the absence, we don't have anyone here I'm aware of from the ICAM IBAS office, the Industrial Base Analysis and Sustainment Office. Unfortunately, Dr. Christian Schaaf couldn't be here. But we do have the previous retired director, Adele Ratcliffe, here, who was in that scene, saw the vision, maybe one of the first people that actually came to Danville and saw the vision of what could possibly happen in a rural community, in a rural region, both to help with our economic development goals and certainly to support our nation's workforce training. So Director Ratcliffe, thank you for your time, your vision, and your continued support in being here today. So as Admiral Papano said, the sail behind me hails from Buffalo SSN 715. Just across the street in front of the CMA building is the rudder from the ex-USS Providence SSN 719. Both pieces hail from decommissioned U.S. Navy Los Angeles class nuclear powered attack submarines. And these incredible pieces were transferred from the U.S. Navy to the IALR to demonstrate the strong partnership between Navy and our ATDM program here. But more importantly, these unique landmarks serve as memorials, preserve, and commemorate the history and these submarines and to honor the service of their crew. Crews like yours, sir, Admiral Papano, and thank you again for your service, and to all of our veterans here. Thank you for all you've done for ATDM. At this time, I'd like to recognize you, as well as a number of other individuals and organizations for whom we owe a great deal of gratitude for their innovative vision and key roles in establishing ATDM. Please stand to be recognized when I call your name. And for those, there are a number of those that could not be with us here today as well. Please accept a small token of appreciation as we commemorate this milestone. Retired Vice Admiral Scott Papano, Retired Director Adele Ratcliffe, Mr. Matt Sermon, Mr. Troy Simpson, representative from the Phillips Corporation, representative from the Spectrum Group, Dr. Johnson, President of Danville Community College, I'd also like to recognize one of our ILR staff members who's been here from the very beginning, Amanda Hilton. And I have several other additional recognitions, all deserving of our deepest appreciation for their partnership, including Vice Admiral Goucher, who served as our keynote today at the ATDM Maritime Workforce Forum. We couldn't be more honored to have you with us on this special occasion. We'd also like to recognize Admiral James Kilby in his absence. We'd like to recognize Erica Logan of the Submarine Industrial Base Program Office and your entire team. Dr. Kristen Schaff in her absence, and was the architectural and engineering design for this particular building. New Atlantic, our lead contractor, general contractor on this project. And there were a host of additional subcontractors for whom we are grateful, but a special recognition for T&M Rigging, which oversaw the rebuild and restoration of both the sail and the rudder. I'd like to give a special thanks to the Institute's Board of Trustees, many of whom are here today, and the entire IALR. Last but certainly not least, to our incredible ATDM students, where you are, give a wave so everybody can see you, and let's join in giving each of these folks a round of applause. This concludes our remarks for today. I invite you to turn your attention to my left. We're going to move to the ribbon cutting portion of the ceremony of the newly commemorated ATDM Maritime Training Center here in the campus of the Advanced Learning and Research. Gentlemen, if you would please join me down by the ribbon. For those of you with name badges, if you attended the forum today, you should have a group number on your name tag. That group number is the group to which you've been assigned for the tour of the facility. For those of you who are just joining us and did not attend the forum today, feel free to join in with any group to tour the facilities. We hope you'll also join us for a reception inside in the atrium after you've had the chance to look around. As a reminder, also our friends on this campus are open for tours after we wrap up today. Here, please enjoy your time here at the new MC Center.